Most people think aging means slowing down, losing strength, and becoming dependent. But what if I told you that's only true for 98% of people? After age 70, there's one simple thing that only 2% of senior citizens can still do, and it might be the difference between a long, independent life or needing help just to get out of a chair. And here's the real shock. It's not about diet, medications, or even walking. It's something you've likely forgotten. Want to know if you're one of the rare few who still has it? Let's find out right now. Have you ever felt like something precious was slipping away, but you just couldn't put your finger on it? That's exactly what's happening right now with many senior citizens, and hardly anyone is noticing. It's not pain, not memory, not even strength that's vanishing first. It's something even more subtle, like the faint scent of a flower fading before anyone realizes it bloomed. And because it goes quietly, it often escapes conversations about healthy aging. It's not in the news, not in the checkups, not even mentioned in most senior wellness programs. But make no mistake, it's disappearing. One tiny piece at a time, and it changes everything. It affects your confidence, your mobility, your independence. And it's doing all that in silence. What's alarming is that this isn't something exotic or rare. It used to be common among the elderly, almost a given. Something everyone did naturally in old age, without a second thought. And yet, over the last few decades, it's been vanishing like an old habit no one bothers to pass on anymore. Doctors are too busy measuring numbers, and even family members can't quite tell what's missing. But those who've worked closely with senior health long enough, they know. They've seen the ripple effect. And those who manage to keep this mystery alive, they often live longer, move better, and feel stronger, even in their 80s and beyond. That's no coincidence. That's a signal. Now, imagine a man in his early 70s who once walked to the bakery every morning. Nothing fancy, just part of his rhythm. One day, he takes the car instead. A month later, he orders groceries online. Eventually, he stops going out altogether. To most people, he's just adapting. But to those who understand the deeper patterns of well-being for seniors, this is a red flag waving quietly in the background. That tiny daily action he dropped, it wasn't about bread. It was about autonomy, vitality, a ritual of movement that guarded his health more than any supplement ever could. And that is the beginning of the enigma. There's an unsettling pattern across retirement communities too. Ask the caregivers and they'll tell you. Something changes long before the walkers come out or the pills pile up. It's not dramatic. It's not even physical at first glance. It might be as small as no longer bending down to tie a shoe or skipping a step in a favorite routine. But over time, these seemingly insignificant skips accumulate, and eventually they snowball into dependency. Senior citizens often blame age, but in truth, it starts with something much smaller, much earlier. A tiny switch that flips in silence. It's not always about what's done. It's about what's no longer done. The decline rarely comes with sirens. It's a quiet erosion. And when you understand what's really fading first, you gain a tremendous advantage. Because those who can detect the first signs early, they can act, they can train, they can reclaim. Healthy aging isn't about avoiding time. It's about mastering response. And those who respond early, even with small adjustments, often outlive their peers. This is the kind of insight you don't hear in waiting rooms. It's passed from mentor to student, from one wise soul to another. So here's the question no one's asking, but should. What was the last thing you stopped doing without even noticing? Because chances are, that thing mattered more than you think. It might have been the very act that once protected your balance, your brain, or your independence. And when we look closer, when we shine a light on those subtle shifts, something shocking comes into focus. Especially after 70, some changes unfold so slowly that they go completely unnoticed until it's too late. For many senior citizens, the first signs of aging aren't dramatic falls or major illnesses. They're quiet shifts that slip under the radar. It might start with needing a few extra seconds to recall a name or misplacing the keys more often. Some brush it off as just getting older, but these subtle mental lapses can signal deeper cognitive transitions that deserve attention. What makes these changes dangerous isn't their presence, but their invisibility. They don't interrupt your life at first. They whisper, and those whispers often go unheard until they're yelling. Healthy aging begins with listening to those whispers before they become alarms. It's not just memory, it's how your body starts to respond differently. The elderly often notice they're not as steady on their feet, but they blame slippery floors or bad shoes. Rarely do they realize their proprioception, the body's ability to sense movement and balance, is quietly weakening. You don't notice you've lost balance until you're already falling. And that loss doesn't come in a day. It creeps in during ordinary moments, getting out of bed, reaching for something on a high shelf, stepping off a curb. Small physical changes that slowly accumulate, undermining your independence. Then come the behavioral changes, equally subtle. A senior who used to greet the neighbors daily might start staying inside just because. They cancel a walk due to a cloudy sky, and next week, it's a mild headache. Social withdrawal isn't always about sadness. It can be a sign of reduced confidence, mild anxiety, or even early-stage neurological shifts. And the longer someone stays isolated, the harder it becomes to break that cycle. Well-being for seniors depends not just on physical activity, but emotional engagement. When that fades, the body tends to follow suit faster than most realize. Here's a real-world example. A woman in her early 70s stopped attending her weekly bridge group. Nothing major happened. She just didn't feel up to it one day. But then she skipped another. And another. Within a year, she was barely leaving the house. Her family thought she was fine because she said she felt okay. But behind the scenes, her coordination was slipping, her memory had dulled, and her muscles weakened from lack of use. What began as a minor social shift quietly set the stage for a major health decline. That's how the invisible often turns into the irreversible. Old age doesn't hit like a hammer, it melts in like fog. The truth is, most senior health issues don't come from sudden trauma. They build up silently, behind everyday decisions. That's why being proactive matters so much. Tips for a longer life aren't always glamorous. They're often simple. Move daily, engage socially, challenge your brain, and monitor small changes. Think of it like catching a leak before it floods your house. A little attention early on can save years of struggle down the road. And once you know what to look for, it's hard to not see it. And yet, even among those paying attention, one specific signal stands out. Something so deeply tied to longevity, autonomy, and confidence that only 2% of senior citizens still hold on to it without knowing its value. The mystery deepens, not because it's hidden, but because it blends in so well with everyday life that most have forgotten how powerful it truly is. It might sound unbelievable, but studies and field experience show that only about 2% of senior citizens over 70 maintain this one specific ability. And no, we're not talking about running marathons or solving complex math problems. This is something much simpler, yet infinitely more powerful. Something that touches mobility, brain function, circulation, and emotional health all at once. It's so deceptively ordinary that many overlook it, dismissing it as just part of life. But when it's gone, everything changes. Independence becomes limited, confidence fades, and longevity takes a silent blow. The elderly who still possess this ability usually don't even know they're holding on to something rare. They just live better. They move without fear, speak with clarity, and hold a sense of control over their day. But ask around, and you'll notice it's almost gone from conversations about senior health. This signal isn't just physical, it's neurological. It connects the body to the brain in ways that protect against falls, cognitive decline, even depression. And yet, it's slipping away with each passing year, even among those practicing healthy aging strategies. Want to know how powerful it is? In several long-term care studies, those who retained this one ability past 75 had drastically lower rates of hospitalization and dependence. They had stronger bones, better circulation, and even improved digestion. Why? Because this one action, this quiet, fading signal, stimulates multiple systems at once. It's like a gentle switch that keeps the entire house running. And when that switch goes off, everything gets dimmer. The scary part is, most don't notice it's missing until the damage is already done. Picture a man named George, 85 years old, still living alone in his own home. He does this one thing every single morning, without fail. It takes him less than a minute. And yet, that one habit has kept his legs strong, his mind alert, and his spirit grounded. Meanwhile, his neighbor, who stopped doing it years ago, now uses a walker, feels unsteady, and avoids stairs completely. They're the same age, but live in completely different worlds. The difference? That simple action George never abandoned. Many tips for a longer life focus on diet, exercise, or sleep. All important, of course. But what if the secret weapon was something you already knew how to do and simply forgot its value? That's the twist here. This signal isn't new. It's not some high-tech device or miracle treatment. It's something nearly every elderly person once did without thinking. And now, it's almost extinct, except for the quiet few who held on. Whether by instinct or wisdom, they refused to let it go. And they're reaping the benefits, quietly, day by day. And here's the real question that's probably stirring in your mind. Am I still one of them? If so, you're sitting on gold. If not, don't worry. It might still be possible to reclaim it. But before we get to the what, let's do something together right now. A simple test. Just a small, private check you can do where you are to find out if this vital ability is still active inside you, or if it's already starting to slip away. Let's do something simple together right now. No equipment, no special clothes, no doctor's appointment. Just you, your body, and a bit of awareness. This test takes less than 60 seconds and could give you one of the most important clues about your current stage in healthy aging. Ready? Here it is. Stand up straight, lift one foot off the ground, and balance on the other leg. Hold it. No wobbling, no holding on to anything. Eyes open. Can you stay like that for at least 10 seconds without losing balance? That's it. That's the test. It may sound too easy to be meaningful, but trust me, it's one of the most powerful indicators of senior health and neurological resilience. Why? Because balancing on one foot demands coordination between your brain, muscles, joints, and even your inner ear. If just one part of that chain is weak, your body reveals it immediately. It's a snapshot of your functional aging. For many senior citizens, this test offers a quiet reality check. Things might be changing faster than expected, and not necessarily in ways that can be seen in the mirror. Now, if you tried the test and nailed it, congratulations, you're likely still within that 2% group keeping this vital skill alive. You may not realize it, but that balance is more than posture. It's protection against falls, a sign of brain-body communication, and a major predictor of independence in old age. But if you couldn't hold steady or needed help, don't panic. That just means there's room to strengthen and recover. And that's where tips for a longer life come into play, not by ignoring the signs, but by responding to them with action. There's a reason physical therapists and geriatric specialists often start with this test. It's quick, accessible, and incredibly telling. It's often more predictive of fall risk and future mobility issues than an X-ray or a blood test. And yet, most elderly individuals go years without anyone checking this. In many cases, the first real test comes after a fall, and by then, it's recovery, not prevention. That's why doing this now, in the safety of your home, is one of the most important things you can do for your long-term well-being as a senior. Let's add a twist. Try the same test again, but this time with your eyes closed. If that sounds scary, skip it for now, but know this version reveals even more about your inner balance system. When we remove visual cues, we force the body to rely on proprioception and vestibular function. two systems that fade with age unless we keep them sharp. If you could barely balance with your eyes open, closing them will likely show how fragile the system has become. That fragility is reversible, but only if it's acknowledged and addressed now. The good news? There are specific exercises and daily habits that can restore and even improve this skill, regardless of your current level. And the even better news? Those who focus on maintaining this ability often see improvements in other areas too, like walking, thinking, even sleeping better. But here's the kicker. If you failed this quick test, it's not just your balance that's at stake. It might be something even deeper, something that predicts your future freedom, health, and how long you'll stay independent. If you struggled with that balance test or couldn't do it at all, it might have felt like a small failure. But in truth, it's not a judgment. It's a window. What seems like a simple wobble or a quick grab for a chair actually reveals a much deeper story about how your body and brain are aging together. For senior citizens, this small moment reflects big truths. The speed at which muscle mass is declining, the communication between the nervous system and joints, and the state of mental focus. It's all connected. Healthy aging isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and adaptation. Loss of balance doesn't come out of nowhere. It's usually the result of years of subtle shifts in routine, sitting more, walking less, avoiding stairs, staying indoors. Slowly, what used to be just a short walk starts feeling like a chore. The body, in its wisdom, adapts, but sometimes that adaptation becomes a limitation. And when movement becomes limited, so does the brain. One of the most overlooked facts in senior health is how deeply mobility is tied to memory, emotion, and cognitive longevity. When the body stops moving with confidence, the mind often follows. This is where the divide begins. The elderly who keep this skill tend to stay independent longer. They navigate their homes with ease, dress themselves, cook their own meals, and enjoy spontaneous outings. But those who lose it slowly give up freedom without realizing it. First, it's giving up the front steps. Then it's avoiding uneven sidewalks. Eventually, they need help getting out of bed. It rarely feels dramatic when it starts, but the chain reaction leads straight to dependence. That's the hard truth most don't see coming. Now, before this sounds too grim, here's the good news. Your future isn't set in stone. Even if you couldn't balance today, you can change that trajectory. There are countless examples of senior citizens who, after recognizing the signs early, took action and extended their independence by a decade or more. Not with extreme workouts or rigid regimens, but through consistent movement, brain stimulation, and positive routines. That's where real tips for a longer life come from. Not from fads, but from small habits done daily, with intention and awareness. Let me tell you about Mrs. Ellen, 78, who hadn't balanced on one leg in over a decade. She didn't even try until her grandson dared her to. She wobbled and laughed, but couldn't do it. That moment sparked a change. With daily 5-minute routines, simple yoga, balance balls, stepping exercises, she regained her ability in under 3 months. Not only that, but her energy improved, her mood lifted, and she started sleeping better. One small challenge woke her up. That's the power of paying attention to what your body is quietly trying to tell you. Because ultimately, the choice between a long, vibrant old age and a slow slide into dependence starts with moments just like this. Do you take the signs seriously and act? Or do you dismiss it as just aging? One leads to a stronger, freer you. The other, to increasing help and reduced autonomy. And here's where it gets even more surprising. The action that only 2% of the elderly still manage to do, the one you tested for just now, has a name, a deeper science behind it, and a method to reclaim it if it's slipping. Here it is. The mystery that's been quietly disappearing. The signal of vitality that only 2% of senior citizens still hold on to without knowing its power. The ability to stand up from the floor without using their hands or external support. Simple? Yes. Easy? Far from it. This one action requires strength, balance, coordination, flexibility, and mental focus, all at once. And its absence signals more than lost mobility. It marks a turning point in a person's autonomy. That's why it's considered one of the strongest indicators of healthy aging and future independence. Standing up from the floor unassisted might seem like a childish move, but it's a secret skill for the elderly. It's what lets you recover from a fall, reach low cabinets, play with grandkids, or garden freely. Those who can't do it often start modifying their lives, removing rugs, avoiding kneeling, giving up hobbies. Over time, this leads to physical deconditioning and a loss of confidence. The very fear of falling grows stronger than the body itself. That's when dependence sets in, not from injury, but from avoidance. Take Joao, 83, who once loved fixing things around the house. One day, he slipped while changing a light bulb and couldn't get up without help. After that, he stopped using ladders, then stopped climbing stairs. Within a year, he moved to a ground-floor apartment and avoided bending over entirely. His world got smaller, his mobility, his joy, his sense of self, all because of one lost ability. Meanwhile, his friend Donato, 85, practiced standing from the floor every day, just once or twice. That simple routine kept him agile, confident, and full of life. This isn't about showing off or chasing youth. It's about preserving what matters most, your freedom. The ability to get up from the floor reflects the strength in your legs, the mobility in your hips, the sharpness of your brain, and the resilience of your spirit. It's a full-body symphony, and when all the instruments play together, life feels lighter. That's why doctors in progressive senior health programs now use this move as a benchmark. Not because it's trendy, but because it works. It saves lives, literally. The best part? You can train it at any age. Whether you're 65 or 90, there are ways to safely regain and strengthen this ability. Start with chair squats, side lunges, or light yoga routines designed for the elderly. A great place to begin is the sit-rise test. Try sitting down on the floor cross-legged and getting back up without using your hands. Even if you fail, the effort itself builds strength. These are real tips for a longer life, rooted in movement, not miracles. Done consistently, they change your body, your balance, and your brain. So now you know. The secret skill, hidden in plain sight, that separates longer independence from early dependence. But this is more than knowledge. It's a mirror. What will you do with this truth? Will you train it, reclaim it, pass it on? Or will it quietly vanish, like it has for so many others? One choice leads to longer, freer, more vibrant old age. The other, well, you already know where that path leads. But what if we could start turning things around today? So, what did the test reveal about you? Are you still among the 2% who can rise from the floor without help? Or did this wake-up call show you it's time to take your strength back? Because here's the truth, it's never too late. Even small actions can lead to big transformations in senior health. You now have the insight that most elderly people never receive. Don't let it go to waste. Start with a simple routine today. Make balance and movement part of your daily life. Your future self will thank you. And now I ask you, how much of your independence are you willing to protect? Are you ready to reclaim what's quietly slipping away? What will your life look like 10 years from now if you start now? Or if you don't? Think about that. And if this message struck a chord in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's rewrite what healthy aging looks like, together. If you want more real, practical tips for a longer life and powerful insights to boost well-being for seniors, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Don't miss the next video. It might be the one that changes everything.